So one of the challenges that we have, as you can see, these people that are sitting here, most of them don't have passports, but they always insist on sitting there at the end of the day because they would want to always try, to enter South Africa illegally. So we try our best to make sure that we deploy here the border guards to make sure that no one actually is given access to go on the South African side. The only challenge here is we do not have the authority to literally get them out of the bridge because they are in their country, as it were. So as you can see, one leg of me is in Zimbabwe and one leg is in South Africa, and that is the poster. But in terms of work, Veronica, we have started now seeing some bit of numbers starting to escalate. As you can see, more and more trucks are coming back into South Africa. The ones that had gone up into the continent, now they are returning back. But at the same time, we are also starting to see the escalation of the Zimbabweans themselves and other people from the continent coming back into South Africa. So in the port, we have, as I said, we have demarcated their processing area. There is no any queue. Indeed, we are able to get everybody back into the country accordingly.
Yeah. While we've been, of course, overseeing some of the operations that have been done by some of the officials at the ports of entry, those stop and searches, very crucial. We came across some, of course, with their papers in check, but others we see are taking that chance, are taking that opportunity, specifically a taxi driver who had no documentation. What happens from there?
Yeah, you see, this is some of the issues that we actually, face, as it were. And that is why we had a very long meeting in the Port Management Committee this morning, primarily to say that if people keep on coming here without documents, one way or the other, it looks more like sometimes they do make it in a way. And that is why we are seriously concerned. I mean, we've just, by the way, our new port commander here, which is Senior Commandant Lambani, has just been appointed just now on the 1st of Jan, as it were. So he is actually on the ground together with our new regional commander for the northern region, which is Deputy Assistant Commissioner Mpelo. So the two, I've given them very clear marching orders that these issues must stop. So at the end of the day, they are going to be making sure that they are actually implementing the protocols and make sure that we deal with this issue of people attempting to come to the border still without documents. Because once people do that, it gives an impression that sometimes they get successful. And that is where my biggest worry is. And that is why I'm saying we have to deal with these issues very decisively. But as for that taxi driver, as we speak, we had to get him arrested because once he brings people at the port without documentation and himself, then it fairly means that we have to charge him for aiding and abetting, but we also have to charge him and his company 15,000 rands per person as part of Section 50 administrative fine. That's we charge people who bring illegal people at the port. So this is basically the work that we do. I think the other thing is the issue of the river. As you can see, there's a lot of water, and on that basis, people are forced to come here at the port, and that is why they're doing all of this. But regardless of that, we do have the border guards in the bush, they're in the vulnerable segments. We do have members of the SNDF, they are ready. Should anybody try to use any boat out there, they are going to be intercepted. You see, the bridges that actually were constructed, they were all destroyed. Remember, the members of the SNDF, together with the border guards and subs, have identified all of those bridges and they were destroyed. But mainly those bridges were actually constructed during the time when the river was dry. So they were mainly putting the bridges on the sand so that when they put the consignments in between, they don't actually struggle per se. But now with the water, it has actually also assisted to actually wash out those bridges. But the majority of them were actually, in a way, wiped out by our guys, literally. They burned them. But unfortunately, the problem we have, Veronica, is we burn them and then overnight they construct others. Then we come and burn again and they come and construct others. That is why I wanted to actually have a conversation with the leadership in Zimbabwe. But unfortunately, it couldn't make it. But I wanted us to be very clear that they need to assist us in this journey. Because if we do this by just ourselves, without the Zimbabweans assisting in the value chain, it becomes very much difficult because it becomes a vicious cycle. And that is unfortunately the problem that we are facing.
Absolutely. And just a final question, Commissioner, as we see all these travelers coming in and out, especially using this bridge to cross over, what can you say, word of advice to travelers?
You see, the main word of advice is, please, when you come to the port, make sure that you are a legitimate traveler and you are with requisite documentation that are required for you to be able to move in between countries. Because once you come without documentation, definitely this time we will get you arrested and we will get you deported. We will get you V-listed and definitely will make sure that you are sent back home. But once again, we have observed that even that activity itself is not much of a serious deterrent. Because as we do it, people keep on moving the same cycle. It's not only here with Zimbabwe, but it's the same also with Libombo in Mozambique, same with Lesotho around Maseru Bridge and Fixburg. So these are the challenges that we have to be dealing with. I suppose we have to have conversations to say, what is it that we need to do beyond what we are doing? Because currently, unfortunately, what we are doing does not give much of a serious deterrent because people become repeat offenders over and over.